Hi, readers, and welcome to week 15, day 3 of the Bible in a Year live project podcast. My name is Rayne.
And my name is Marsha.
We will be continuing our reading from the Amplified Bible.
Don't forget you can join us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. DST or EST for a live discussion on what we have read this week. The details for that Zoom meeting are in the description below, or you can find them on our website at Biayl.Project.com.
Now let's jump in. Judges 16. Samson's weakness. Then Samson went to Gaza and saw a prostitute there and went into her. The Gazites were told, "Samson has come here." So they surrounded the place and waited all night at the gate of the city to ambush him. They kept quiet all night, saying, "In the morning, when it is light, we will kill him." But Samson lay resting until midnight. Then at midnight he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate and the 2 doorposts and pulled them up, security bar and all, and he put them on his shoulders and carried them up the top of the hill, which is opposite Hebron. After this, he fell in love with the Philistine woman living in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. So the 5 lords, governors of the Philistines, came to her and said to her, "Persuade him, and see where his great strength lies, and find out how we may overpower him, so that we may bind him to subdue him. And each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me where your great strength lies, and with what you may be bound and subdued." Samson said to her, "If they bind me with 7 fresh cords, tendons, that have not been dried, then I will be weak and be like any other man." Then the Philistine lords brought her 7 fresh cords that had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now she had men lying in an ambush in an inner room. And she said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." And he broke the cords as a string of tow breaks when it touches fire. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Then Delilah said to Samson, "See now, you have mocked me and told me lies. Now please tell me truthfully how you may be bound." He said to her, "If they bind me tightly with new ropes that have not been used, then I will become weak and be like any other man." So Delilah took new ropes and bound him with them and said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." And the men lying in ambush were in the inner room. But he snapped the ropes off his arm like sewing thread. And then Delilah said to Samson, "Until now you have mocked me and told me lies. Tell me truthfully what you may be bound." And he said to her, "If you weave the 7 braids of my hair with the web and fasten it with a pin, then I will become weak and be like any other man." So while he slept, Delilah took the 7 braids of his hair and wove them into the web. And she fastened it with the pin of the loom and said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." And he awoke from his sleep and pulled out the pin of the weaver's loom and the web. Delilah extracts his secret. Then she said to him, "How can you say, 'I love you,' when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me 3 times and have not told me where your great strength lies." When she pressured him day after day with her words and pleaded with him, he was annoyed to death. Then finally he told her everything that was in her heart and said to her, "A razor has never been used on my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaved, then my strength will leave me, and I will become weak and be like any other man." And then Delilah realized that he had told her everything in his heart. So she sent and called for the Philistine lords, saying, "Come up this once, 'cause he has told me everything in his heart." Then the Philistine lords came up to her and brought her the money they had promised in their hands. She made Samson sleep on her knees, and she called a man and had him shave off the 7 braids of his head. Then she began to abuse Samson, and his strength left him. She said, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." And he awoke up from his sleep and said, I will go as I have time after time and shake him free. For Samson did not know that the Lord had departed from him. Then the Philistines seized him and gouged out his eyes, and they brought him down to Gaza and bound him with 2 bronze chains. And he was forced to be a grinder of grain into flour at the mill in the prison. But the hair of his head began to grow again after it had been shaved off. Now the Philistine lords had gathered together to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, for they had said, Our God has given Samson, our enemy, into our hands. When the people saw Samson, they praised their God, for they said, Our God has handed over our enemy to us, the ravager of our country, who has killed many of us. Now, when they were in high spirits, they said, Call for Samson, so that he may amuse us. So they called Samson out of the prison, and he entertained them. They made him stand between the pillars. Then Samson said to the boy who held him by the hand, Let me feel the pillars on which the roof of the house rests, so that I may lean against them. Now the house was full of men and women. All the Philistine lords were there, and on the flat roof were about 3,000 men and women who looked on while Samson was entertaining them. Samson is avenged. Then Samson called to the Lord and said, O Lord God, please remember me and please strengthen me just this one time, O God, and let me take vengeance on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Samson took hold of the 2 middle support pillars on which the house rested and braced himself against them, one with his right hand and the other with his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he stretched out with all his might, collapsing the support pillars, and the house fell on the Lord and all the people who were in it. So the dead who he killed at his death were more than those whom he had killed during his life. Then his brothers and his entire tribal household came down, took him, and brought him up, and they buried him in the tomb of Manoah, his father, who was between Zorah and Eshtaol. So Samson has judged Israel for 20 years.
1 Samuel chapter 3, the prophetic call to Samuel. Now the boy Samuel was attending to the service of the Lord under the supervision of Eli. The word of the Lord was rare and precious in those days. Visions, that is, new revelations of divine truth, were not widespread. Yet it happened at that time as Eli was lying down in his own place. Now his eyesight had begun to grow dim and he could not see well, and the oil lamp of God had not yet gone out. And Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was. That the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here I am. He ran to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But Eli said, I did not call you. Lie down again. So he went and lay down. Then the Lord called yet again, Samuel. So Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. But Eli answered, I did not call, my son. Lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know or personally experience the Lord, and the word of the Lord was not yet revealed directly to him. So the Lord called Samuel a 3rd time, and he stood and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you did call me. Then Eli understood that it was the Lord who was calling the boy. So Eli said to Samuel, Go lie down, and it shall be that if he calls you, you shall say, Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Then the Lord came and stood and called as at the previous times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, Speak, for your servant is listening. The Lord said to Samuel, Behold, I'm about to do a thing in Israel at which both ears of everyone who hears it will ring. On that day I will carry out against Eli everything that I have spoken concerning his house family, from beginning to end. Now I have told him that I am about to judge his house forever for the sinful behavior which he knew was happening, because his sons were bringing a curse on themselves, dishonoring and blaspheming God. and he did not rebuke them. Therefore, I have sworn to the house of Eli that the sinful behavior of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. So Samuel lay down until morning. Then he opened the doors of the Lord's house. But Samuel was afraid to tell the vision to Eli. But Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. And he answered, Here I am. Then Eli said, What is it that he said to you? Please do not hide it from me. May God do the same to you and more also, if you hide from me anything of all that he said to you. So Samuel told him everything, hiding nothing from him. And Eli said, It is the Lord. May he do what seems good to him. Now Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and he let none of his words fail to be fulfilled. And all Israel from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south knew that Samuel was appointed as a prophet of the Lord. And the Lord continued to appear in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord. 1 Samuel chapter 4. Philistines take the ark in victory. And the word of the Lord through Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out to meet the Philistines in battle, and they camped beside Ebenezer, where the Philistines camped at Aphek. The Philistines assembled in battle formation to meet Israel. And when the battle was over, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the battlefield. When the people came into the camp, the elders of Israel said, Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, so that he may come among us and save us from the hand of our enemies. So the people sent word to Shiloh, and from there they carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who sits above the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were with the ark of the covenant of God. So it happened that as the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all the people of Israel shouted with a great shout, and the earth resounded. When the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, What does the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews mean? Then they understood that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp. The Philistines were afraid, for they said, God has come into the camp. And they said, Woe, disaster is coming to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us! Who will rescue us from the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with all kinds of plagues in the wilderness. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, so that you do not become servants to the Hebrews, as they have been servants to you. Act like men and fight. So the Philistines fought. Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent. It was a great defeat, for 30,000 foot soldiers of Israel fell. Also, the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were killed. Now a man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battle line and came to Shiloh that same day with his clothes torn and dust on his head, as signs of mourning over the disaster. When he arrived, Eli was sitting on his seat by the road, keeping watch, because his heart was anxious about the ark of God. When the man arrived to report the news in the city, everyone in the city cried out to God for help. When Eli heard the noise of the outcry, he asked, What is the noise of this uproar? And the man came hurriedly and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old. His eyes were dim so that he could not see. The man said to Eli, I have come from the battle line. Indeed, I escaped from the battle line today. Eli said, How did things go, my son? The messenger replied, Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has also been a great slaughter among the people. Also, your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God has been taken. When he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell off the seat backwards by the side of the city gate. His neck was broken, and he died, for he was old and heavy. He had judged Israel for 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, Phinehas's wife, was pregnant and was about to give birth. So when she heard the news that the ark of God had been taken and that her father-in-law and her husband had died, she kneeled down and gave birth because her labor pains began. And about the time of her death, following the sudden birth, the woman attending her said to her, "Do not be afraid, for you have given birth to a son." But she did not answer or pay any attention. And she named the boy Ichabod, saying, "The glory has left Israel," because the ark of God had been taken, and because of the deaths of her father-in-law and her husband. She said, "The glory has left Israel, for the ark of God has been taken." Here endeth today's reading.